That's right, everybody. It's a special edition live Thursday episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns. As always, it's your guy, Bully Rye. And alongside me for the football shows, as always, is Baker Bill. Bill, what's going on, bud?
It's happening, man. It's Thursday. Well, Thursday action. We're going on like right as almost the Thursday night football game is kicking off. So you can watch us while you're watching the football game.
We could always just like update scores for the Thursday night football game this week, but it's not really a good game anyway. Yeah. So why does anybody want to watch that game when you can watch us instead? Reminder: if you're watching the show live, wherever it is that you're watching, YouTube, Twitter at Tapouts and TDs, Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns. Make sure you leave a comment and join the conversation. And if you have some friends that haven't yet followed the show on social media, make sure you have them do that as well.
And if you don't have any friends, just hang out with us and we'll be your friends.
That's
works for me.
I mean, I can't even think about it. Santa Claus is everybody's friend, right?
Santa Claus is everybody's friend, yes.
Santa Claus is friends with everybody. Right. So, yeah, it's, listen, we're talking about college football and Christmas season. College football season is already winding down, obviously. But we are at the college football bowl season. So I think, Bill, we ought to go ahead and get into some bowl season talk. And I'm not really sure how to transition into college football bowl season, because the question has to be asked: do bowl games even count do bowl games matter anymore?
It's not as good as you can kill the music, by the way. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, no, it was winding down.
Oh, you got it.
It was definitely winding
usually
down.
You let it kill it way earlier than this. I was like, wow, he's really digging this.
I was letting it go, man.
I know it's bittersweet listening to that song. Bowl season. No, it's not what it used to be. I mean, bowl season used to be how many games? 16 or something like that. It was important to get into bowls. It felt special to get into a bowl. Now playing in certain bowls, they don't care. Like there's a bowl game. What was it? It's in South Carolina. The Myrtle Beach Bowl kicks off bowl season this weekend on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Nobody cares about
Georgia Southern versus Ohio.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
In the chat saying bowl season is so bittersweet, especially for us Florida and South Carolina fans who are sitting on the outside looking in.
I don't even know who you're talking about, because they're done. I don't even care anymore. It's recruiting season.
Yeah.
And
the transfer portal has sort of. I know we're not in Homer's Corner, and we're not going to talk about in Homer's Corner, but South Carolina's got some key transfers coming in, and I can't even say his name. The starting running back from Arkansas that was, I think, all SEC last year, along with a wide receiver out of Coastal Carolina and a wide receiver out of Vanderbilt. Oh man, PJ Steven in the chat, because he said it'd be a shame if somebody crashed this party. PJ Steven going to be joining us here in a few minutes to make.
Cannot wait. It's like me picking wrestling matches. He has no clue.
Yeah, no.
Although I do know now. I do know some. I actually did. Being that I've been there and I've experienced it, I do know more about it than I used to. So
we're gonna have to do another crossover episode where we show PJ Steven a football game and we sort of explain what the strategy is behind it and whatnot.
He's just bored the whole time. What is this stick and ball sport? I have no idea.
Yeah, like
where's going to hit a home run and be done with this thing?
Where's the hoop? I was told there was going to be a hoop here, and then we're going to have you calling some wrestling matches or watching wrestling matches live again. Listen, I used to get really excited about bowl season, right? I mean, I used to do so. I don't want to delve too much into the history, but my dad would only make two bets a year, and it was March Madness and college football bowl season. And we would have this. Somebody would print off a piece of paper at work, and we would highlight the winners. We'd give it back to them, and then we get a copy of stacks of everybody's picks, and it gave us something to watch. And so the last few years, I had done the exact same thing, so that there's 20, 25 people. We're all watching all the bowl games, and they had stakes to them. And I don't know if it's the podcast. I don't know if it's the fact of the way the
Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro. I got to read this. Pedro, the Vikings Raiders game. PJ Steven would love the Raiders Vikings game. From
Nobody should ever
weekend.
watch that game, Pedro.
But I don't know if maybe I'm just jaded because South Carolina and in Florida, for that matter, aren't in bowl games this year. I don't care, so I didn't do bowl pick'ems.
It's gotten out of hand. There's just too many now. We don't know about
yeah. If you
you know,
look,
60 to 70% of these teams.
and if you're watching this show live with us, you're seeing the bowl games that are going to be kicking off before we meet again here on this show. But I'm going to read them out for those listening on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts, wherever you listen. The bowl games this weekend, and I'm not going to call out the teams; it's going to take too long. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl, so two bowl games that are just sponsored by cities apparently. The Cure Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, so a state sponsored bowl game now. The LA Bowl, so another city. The Independence Bowl, South Carolina played in that one year. The famous Toastery Bowl. You ever heard of the famous Toastery Bowl, Bill?
I have not. That one's new for me.
Yep. And then the Frisco Bowl, which it sounds like something you would order from Hardee's. The Frisco Bowl. Yeah, there was
huge.
There was a bowl game that Clemson played in a couple years ago. I say a couple years. It's been a while because for the last 10 years, Clemson's been playing in like national championship playoffs. But prior to all that, I remember them playing in a bowl game, and it was titled the Crucial.com Humanitarian Bowl. So PJ wants to know who went over to the Vikings Raiders. Who went over the Vikings Raider match? Who do they work? The Vikings worked the Raiders to a 3-0 win. We're going to get that. And Joe Dabbit in the chat. Go Zebras. He's rooting for the referees because somebody's got to, because the officiating in football has been absolutely terrible this year. Listen, there's not really much to talk about college football. If you want to watch some bowl games, there's some decent matchups. You got UCLA playing this weekend. You got App State playing this weekend. You've got some decent teams that are playing in bowl games this weekend, but it doesn't really kick off until you get to the deeper games, the ranked on ranked matchups. You're not going to get any of those this weekend. Unfortunate, because bowl season used to be something I really look forward to. Even when I was a kid, there was only like maybe 20 bowl games. Yeah. And I feel like there's like it's like the NCAA tournament in basketball. There's just too many of them. There's just too many. Having said that, I guess we should go ahead and move on from college football. It was a really quick college football conversation because it's just
nobody cares. Nobody cares. I think the first bowl game. I want to look. I think the first bowl game I even really care about is maybe on Thursday with Syracuse playing. I like Syracuse for some reason. They play South Florida, and then UCF plays on Friday. I'll probably pay attention to that. But
we'll talk about that on next week's show. Yeah.
Other than that, I'd like this whole weekend. I don't care. Like going into the week.
Now, I might tune into some of the Myrtle Beach Bowl because it's the first bowl game of the season. And Sean Elliott is the head coach of Georgia Southern. He was the interim coach when Spurrier quit on South Carolina back in 2014, 2015, whenever it is that he quit. And I root for that guy. I like Sean Elliott, and I'm curious to see what they can do against Ohio. Let's go over to NFL talk from Week 14. And PJ was wondering.
I don't want to.
Well,
I really don't want to.
You got to, man.
I'm still in pain. It's a bad week.
Well, we won't start you off with that. Let's start you off.
You're not talk about it. We just forget that it happened, please. That's what I've been trying to do all week long.
We'll get there. But right now, Pedro told us that we should show PJ Steven the Vikings Raiders game. 2 games this weekend. Now, the NFL, well, I should preface this. The NFL over the last few seasons has become a very, very strong offensive league. A lot of points. They do an NFL Red Zone channel touchdown montage from all the touchdowns scored throughout the league for the entire day of football. But 2 games this past weekend went into halftime 0-0. One game, I guess, finally decided to score some points, and the Jets win over the Texans. But to Pedro's point, the Vikings beat the Raiders 3-0. Our friend Eric would probably be incensed if he knew we were talking about this on the show. What do you attribute to the fact that neither one of these teams could get offenses rolling in the first half of these games? Is it just due to injuries? Like what's the deal?
Bad quarterbacks. That's how teams don't score. Bad quarterbacks. Bad quarterback play. I mean, good gracious, there's some really horrific quarterback play this weekend. But that's also due to injuries, right? I mean, Josh Dobbs looks terrible now. What happened? Where he went from, maybe he should forget the playbook like he did the first week, like he didn't know the playbook, and then he started learning the playbook, and now he's just confused.
Just go out and play street ball, man. Just go out and play street ball.
He threw for I think 68 yards in that game, and they won. Like really bad. Yeah, I think it's terrible quarterback play.
Yeah, Pedro makes a good example. Steven, PJ, It's the Vikings-Raiders game was basically a headlock for 3
Basically,
hours.
that's what it was. Yeah.
I'm going to save Volley Polly's comment until we get to talking about it. Tim Costello, what happened to Houston? And they lost Nico. Listen, they also lost C.J. Stroud in this game. In the concussion protocol, there's no guarantee that he's going to play this week. Everybody, the Texans that look like world beaters as a bunch of rookies this year are now battling the injury bug themselves, and they're going to be looking like the team that I expected them to be in the preseason. But we talk about injuries, Bill. There has been a lot, and The Rock means a lot of injuries to starting quarterbacks this year. If you're watching the live stream or the video podcast, you're going to see all the quarterbacks that have been lost for the year, and that doesn't include quarterbacks that have simply missed games. The Cleveland Browns have started 7 different quarterbacks this year. The record for the most quarterbacks played in one NFL season was set last year. I believe the number was 63. We have seen 54 different starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Bill, why are so many quarterbacks, and specifically star quarterbacks, getting hurt?
I actually did some research on this, Ryan, to figure out what the issue is. Basically, the statistics show that the quarterbacks are basically, they're holding onto the ball more. They're involved in more offensive plays. There are more dropbacks. There are more plays per game now because of the way that the offenses work, how quickly they strike, and things like that. So the quarterbacks are having the ball in their hands more often. They're running more often than they used to. It's not necessarily to say that they are getting injured on those runs, but that just means they're getting hit. And usually when you get hit a bunch, quarterbacks tend to get hurt. So we're seeing a lot of that. So there's a lot of different factors, but all of them lead to the fact that they are just getting hit more. It's just what's happening. And I mean, when you're standing back there with no protection and you're probably the smallest guy in the field, physique wise, or at least the guys that are chasing you around, that's why you're seeing these guys get injured. They're hanging on the ball too much, just having the ball in their hands way too often.
Well, I can assure you it's affecting people in fantasy football. Pedro Guillen injuries, quarterback injuries really hurt him in fantasy football. Things that many can relate. Tim Costello dropping the Tommy Cutlets. Ordering the gabagool. Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. We'll talk about them here in a second as well. So yeah, listen. It's hard when the highest paid players in the league are quarterbacks. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. Look at Justin Herbert. You look at the contract that Deshaun Watson signed last year. All 3 guys did not finish the season for their teams this year. Aaron Rodgers went. Now, granted, he took less money to go play for the Jets, but he lasted all of 8 minutes, 5 snaps in his New York Jets career so far. I really wonder if we're going to see him because the Jets are going to be out of playoff contention after this weekend. So I really wonder if we're going to see Aaron Rodgers before the end of the season.
No.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see all the quarterbacks going down, and everything that you said makes sense.
Well,
but
the interesting is too, Ryan, not to interrupt, but the number of plays that each quarterback. So you said there's 55 starters that have already been in the game so far this season.
Yeah,
they've played a total of 16,886 plays. That's 307 plays per starting quarterback. That number continues to go down, meaning that players, the quarterbacks are actually getting injured faster than they have in previous seasons. In 2015, that number was 398. As each quarterback would last about 398 plays before they got injured. Now it's down to 307, and it's dropping quickly. That's kind of scary. There's something that needs to change in the NFL because it's happening season after season that these quarterbacks are getting injured faster and more often. And I don't think that's a really good look for the NFL. I know we try to protect the quarterbacks, but we've got a lot of quarterbacks that are now scrambling. That's part of what you want to be as a quarterback, as an athletic guy that gets out of the pocket and makes plays. And that's causing these guys to get injured more often. I mean, you still have the freak injuries like, Rodgers and I mean, Kirk Cousins got injured on a hit, but Rodgers got hit, didn't get hit and just popped his Achilles. That stuff's going to happen still. But these other guys that are getting hit and running and all that kind of stuff, that's just adding to the I guess the quickness or the frequency of them being injured. And they need to figure that out. That's horrible. Like I think Pedro said that hurt him in fantasy this year. That's hurting.
Yep.
That's hitting everybody.
Yep.
I mean, you saw Tim Costello. We were talking this week. He lost Herbert when his quarterback went down, and he's trying to pick up Joe Flacco. Like, who wants to pick up Joe Flacco? That's crazy. But there's nobody else left. There's just nobody else left. I had another guy in our fantasy league text me this week and said, "Hey, these are my 3 options in a different league. What should I grab?" It's really bad.
I think part of the problem could be attributed to the fact that the game plans they've all gone to a quarterback heavy playbook instead of, I don't know, going old school NFL and
run.
putting some emphasis on the run game.
Yeah. It's a passing
And
league, and it's getting the quarterbacks hurt now.
Yep. So be interesting to see if this trend continues year after year. A couple more comments in the chat. Tommy DeVito's agent is the highlight of the season. Serving gabagool this Christmas.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
I don't disagree. I just saw it tonight for the first time.
Is it like this? Is it like this? Where he's like
gabagool?
Yeah,
you got gabagool.
Yeah, actually, he like high fives like this. Like,
yeah, he goes in the high five. And then we weren't actually going to touch on this topic, but it was approached in the chat here. Dylan Bates wants to know what we think about Bill Belichick and the Patriots parting ways. Listen, if this is your first time watching the show, I said this 2 months ago. Now I'm going to get half of it wrong, so we'll go there. But I said that both Bill Belichick and Nick Saban will be away from their teams at the end of the season. Now, Bill Belichick, there's a report by one guy, and I can't remember his name, but there's a report that's saying that after the Europe game, they were ready to fire Bill Belichick, but they wanted to wait until the end of the season to do so. Now Nick Saban's in the college football playoff; he's not going anywhere. Yeah. But again, nothing's been reported by Adam Schefter, by Ian Rappaport, none of the quote unquote NFL insiders. But I've been saying it all season that Bill Belichick doesn't survive the offseason in New England, but he's still got a year left on his contract. So it's getting kind of like joked around about, do the Patriots try to trade away Bill Belichick to some team that's going to be dumb enough to give up something for him? Or do they just part ways? Bill, what are your thoughts?
I am not a Patriots fan. I mean, for good reason, I think. But I cannot believe that we are having a discussion about the second winningest coach in NFL history being dismissed, not given a great. I know it's his job to draft that team. He's basically the GM of that team. The team is on a down year, and they weren't terrible last year, and I believe they made the playoffs the year before. This is all after Tom Brady, and now they have a down year, and the first real down year that Bill Belichick has, Robert Kraft is ready to ship him up the river. I cannot believe it. And the Patriots are the horrible franchise I always thought they were. They've been cheating for many years. We all know it. And then we kind of just swept it under the rug. And Robert Kraft, you should be ashamed of yourself. You never will be because you're a billionaire and nobody really cares.
Well, they gave him a slap on the wrist for getting happy innings down in Florida.
I know. But
Deshaun Watson got sued for it.
Embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. I'm sorry. The Dolphins aren't perfect. I'm not going to say that they are. But to treat Bill Belichick on his first down year in forever, Tom Brady or not.
22 years.
Yeah. To be like, well, we're done with him. He's old. The game has passed him. But I'm pretty sure that they've been in the games defensively, which is Bill Belichick's forte. The problem with that team is Bill O'Brien. That guy needs to be sitting right next to Rex Ryan and some TV show because they're both terrible coaches. That guy's awful. He's in charge of the offense, and they stink on offense. I don't think it's Bill Belichick's fault. Maybe it's because he hired Bill O'Brien, but at the same time, I think it's ridiculous that they're thinking about getting rid of Bill Belichick. I can't even believe it.
I think O'Brien needs to go coach in college. Real quick, a couple of comments. Mama Frick in the house. What's up? What's up, Mom? Pedro Guillen, Jared Mayo for head coach. All right. Not sure where to go from that.
Yeah.
And then Tim Costello.
Sure, it's working out in Houston, isn't it? So far, putting an ex-linebacker in as a head coach.
Tim Costello, who should go back to the Giants? We talking O'Brien?
Belichick.
We're talking about Belichick. That's right. He did start under who was
Parcells.
it? Parcells. That's
right.
right.
Parcells tree.
All right. So before we take our first break and get to pickems, we do have a couple more things. The NFL saw probably the most upsets they've seen in a single week over the past week. We just talked about the Patriots. The Patriots knocked off the Steelers. The Bears beat my Lions, which, in all fairness, the Bears should have beaten the Lions the first time they played, and they let that game slip away with 4 minutes left. They did not let that happen against the Lions in Chicago this past weekend. I already mentioned it. The Jets over the Texans. CJ Stroud gets injured. We don't know if he's going to play this weekend. The Bills over the Chiefs. The Giants over the Packers, and the Titans over your Dolphins, Bill.
Stop.
let's talk real quick. The Chiefs, the Bills over the Chiefs. A lot of controversy in this game because Kadarius Toney lined up offsides, and both Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were upset that they didn't get a warning from the NFL. The next play, I believe, Von Miller lined up offsides and it was not called. The play that they were called for being offsides, they being the Chiefs, they hit a miraculous play that didn't count. Do you think the Chiefs are making a little more out of this than they ought to?
I thought originally yes, until I allowed the internet to do what the internet does and post examples of how often this happens in the NFL and it's not called, including in the Dolphins game. Tyreek Hill lined up offsides during the first quarter of the Dolphins game, just like exactly like what happened in the Chiefs game, and wasn't called.
Yeah.
And so it's a terrible call. It's a terrible, terrible call. It really is.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Aaron Thompson, Aaron back in the chat, meant to say that my beard game is strong. He also says that Patrick Mahomes acted like something that rhymes with witch. That's cute.
Pedro, and you're not making any friends around here, Pedro.
And then Pedro says that we should show PJ Stevens last
so bad.
Dolphins Titans game.
I was celebrating already. I never do that. I was celebrating already.
I knew, right? I was at my house. I knew not to celebrate. Giants winning over the Packers. The Packers were riding a 3-game winning streak into this game, including a win over the Chiefs. Tommy DeVito. We've already made a couple of comments about Tommy DeVito on the show and the Gabagool and his mafioso agent.
Yes.
Is Tommy DeVito and are the Giants for real?
You know what? We had this question. Costello posted this question. How many weeks
like a month ago.
Yeah, and it was after I think it was after Tommy DeVito's first start. And the answer was no. No, come on, stop it. Like, don't even go there. But I've got the statistic right. I don't know if I think you brought this up to me, did you not? Of the statistic of what Tommy DeVito did this week.
Yes, I did.
All right, so I have it. I wrote it out if you want me to read it to you.
Please do.
All right, so since QB stats have been tracked in 1950, no player has ever had a game like the one that the Giants signal caller had. That is Tommy DeVito. Per Optus stats, we'll give a little reference there. DeVito is the first starting quarterback to complete at least 80% of his passes, rush for 70 yards or more, commit 0 turnovers, and avoid being sacked in a single game. That's unbelievable. First time in history
ever
that happened.
Do you think
is he for real? Is he for real? Yeah. Heck yes. Heck yes. He's doing things we've never seen before. So will he continue to do it? We don't know. But obviously he's good TV right now. It's fun to watch. What's going on with DeVito?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you think they regret giving all that money to Daniel Jones with Tommy Cutlets on the sidelines now running the offense in New York?
24.
I mean, I don't.
It was a terrible idea when they did it, and it's a worse idea now.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. Let's see, Pedro back in the chat. I agree with Bill. Only a matter of time before the Giants go back to being the 23 Giants. Amy Lynn Wickman in the chat. What's up, Amy Lynn? Good to see you here. Let's go to the last game. I mean, I told you I was going to put it off, and I put it off as long as I could.
I'm gonna go.
Bill, I heard the argument on a couple of radio shows this week about how the Dolphins are the pretenders, that this game sort of exposed who the Dolphins were. They did lose. You did mention they did lose their starting center for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
They made a couple of signings in this past week, and my guy Melvin Ingram back down in Miami, as well as a couple of centers.
2 centers.
Are you worried about the Dolphins in the last 4 weeks of the season?
Hell yes. I'm terrified. They can't. I mean, not only did they lose their starting center, but he was the highest rated center by Pro Football Focus all season long. He's the best center in the NFL this season, grade wise. Kind of the center of the offense, really. I mean, was that like a pun, kind of? I think.
Yeah, it was a nice pun.
You know, but yeah, I'm terrified, man. I feel like as a fan, I've been humbled, and I feel like I hope, and we'll find out this week. I just want to play this week. I'll find out where we're at this week. I feel like I'll feel better or I'll feel horrible.
I think
it'll just be the same old.
with the Dolphins loss and the Ravens win, if I'm not mistaken, that puts the Ravens in the driver's seat for the number one
first
seed
for that bye. Yeah.
Pedro, you really aren't making any friends. The Bills are not creeping behind. The Bills are not going to catch the Dolphins.
I'm not that concerned yet about the Bills unless they beat Dallas this week and Miami loses to the Jets. Then there will be problems.
Well, what a great we are on it, doggone it tonight, because the next question had to do with the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
They throttled the Eagles this past week in Dallas to take over the number one spot in the NFC East, which could potentially, if they hold on to it, means that the Eagles is more than likely going to be traveling down to either a losing record Atlanta or a losing record Saints team in the playoffs. But the question is about the Cowboys. After beating the Eagles like they did, are they a serious Super Bowl contender at this point? People ask this in the media every single year, but are the Cowboys a serious contender at this point?
As of last week, yes. Well, let's say that. That's a snapshot, right? So you get a snapshot every single week of where a team's at. You never know. It's one game. Philadelphia was obviously reeling. We talked about it on this show. They were reeling from the previous week, and we saw a snapshot of a Dallas team that absolutely throttled a team that was reeling. Okay, fine. You did it. And now you get a really fun week to go up and prove it again. And I feel like if you go up to Buffalo and beat Buffalo, please let that happen. But if you do that, I think 100% you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys as being the team that is going to give San Francisco a run in the NFC.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. I hate to do this to you, Bill, but I'm going to read everybody's comments on the air.
I don't even Austin's not making friends either.
We've got a Tennessee
Everybody's
fan.
just piling on, man.
He's actually a Tennessee fan. He said maybe if they spend more time practicing football instead of touchdown celebrations, go Titans. And then
I agree.
Volleyball is absolutely right. Desmond Johnson was on this show last week and picked Dallas Cowboys to go over big, and they did. So kudos to Desmond Johnson. Speaking of picks, we got to get to him, and we've got a special guest for him. So we're going to take our first break. When we come back, podcast Pick'ems week 16. I kind of had a bad week and let Bill overtake the lead. We'll talk about that and more. And we'll invite the wrestling show co-host PJ Steven into the show when we come back right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns. This episode is brought to you by Carolina Business Equipment. With offices in Charleston, Greenville, Columbia, and Florence, Carolina Business Equipment can supply your copiers, computers, and printers anywhere in the state of South Carolina. Call my personal best friend Aaron Thompson at 843-452-8761 for a quote today, and make sure you tell him that Ryan from Tap Outs and Touchdowns sent you. Carolina Business Equipment, you worry about your business, let us handle your technology.
And that is Titans fan Aaron Thompson with Carolina Business Equipment, right? Is that what you said?
No, that's Austin. Austin.
There's too many Thompsons. They're like all cousins, right? Is that what it was? Yeah.
That's it.
Sorry, Austin, my bad, man.
Welcome back to Tap Outs and Touchdowns. Bully Rye, Banker Bill, and we got a special treat as we go into podcast pick'ems from week 16. Like I said, last week was not a good week for me. I went 1-4 while Bill went 3-2. Which takes Bill to a 46-29-1 record. I fall to 44-31-1.
Wow.
I had a one-game lead in the last weekend, and Bill made it up, and then some. Guest pickers are sitting at 45-33. And if you've ever listened or ever watched a football or a wrestling show of this podcast, there was at one time that we had a crossover episode where Banker Bill, PJ Steven, and I talked pro wrestling, and we had Bill watch a wrestling match live on the show with us. And we've always joked about maybe getting PJ Steven in to come pick football games because, spoiler alert, PJ Steven doesn't watch football. And without further ado, let's bring in the wrestling show co-host of Tap Outs and Touchdowns, PJ Steven. And he's got
my gosh, it's the guy. Yeah.
Favorite little Vader action figure. PJ, what's going on, bud?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited.
He didn't just put it up there. He was hiding, too.
I was. I made it a big production. Thank you for having me on. I'm very, very excited. I'm glad that I was able to get off work in time. I didn't know it was going to happen, so I'm pretty stoked. Yeah, let's do the thing. Let's pick some basketball players. Let's do it.
This is going to be so fun because legitimately PJ Steven knows absolutely nothing about football.
I don't know a thing, but I did take some time to actually research a little bit and try to make educated guesses. And I think I made choices. I'm actually looking forward. I might actually look at highlights to see oh man, I was right about that one, or whatever.
So. Real quick, Austin saying is a badass bloodline Thompson, and then Pedro says he misses you, PJ.
Pedro, I miss you very much. I miss the Obvious Liars. I miss Cole Jen. I miss that Charleston music scene. But yeah, I definitely miss you, Pedro. Pedro and I had a lot of rivalries together, including him throwing me through a table, which was a legit table in our backyard. We had one take to do that, and luckily it was okay.
I've fallen through a table once before myself, but the video that we had of it no longer exists, which makes me sad.
Yeah, no, I try not to watch your sex tapes. Okay, let's keep going here.
PJ's bringing in the fire on the on the football shows. Let's get to some football talks. I sent PJ every team, like the city, the mascot, and their records, so that he could pick these games tonight. So let's start off with a Saturday night game, since the Thursday night football game is already underway. The Denver Broncos taking on the Detroit Lions. The Lions are a 4-point favorite. PJ, I'm gonna let you start us off here. You got Broncos at Lions.
I'm gonna pick Broncos, and I'll say that because I hate Detroit. The only thing that comes out of Detroit that was good was RoboCop and Cars. Broncos all the way. Again, they're in Denver, and I'm close to Denver, so I'm stoked about that. Yeah, Broncos.
That kind of hurts my heart a little bit. Bill, who you got? Broncos at Lions.
Wow. Hard to follow that one. I think Eminem came out of Detroit. Not a fan, I guess. Ryan, the Broncos are the Lions of last season, right? The Lions started 1-6 last year, finished the season 9-8, almost made the playoffs. Broncos trying to do the same thing, man. 7-6 right now. One, what is that? 2-1, or no, I'm sorry. Great. Math is hard. 6-1 in their last 7. Broncos are definitely on a roll, but man, the Lions are just too good for the Broncos. And I think the Lions, even though it was a 4-point spread, yeah, I'll take the Lions at home.
I mean, it's no surprise I'm going to go homer pick and take the Lions as well.
Of course you are.
Their loss a few weeks ago on Thanksgiving to the Packers, followed by a loss to the Bears this past weekend. I think the Lions are coming in playing motivated. I think that there's some stuff they need to work out on the defense. I think in order to have success on that Lions offense, you've got to get Sam Laporta involved. Jared Goff has to play play well, and the Lions are going to have a chance, and I think they're going to do that this week. Andy in the chat, Andy Hunter says, "What's up?" Hey, Andy. Let's go to the second game of the week that we're picking. We're going back to the well with the Dolphins. The Dolphins hosting the New York Jets. The Miami Dolphins, Sunday 1:00 kickoff, an 8.5-point favorite. Bill, the Jets have a remarkable defense. They held the Texans to just 6 points last week. Bill, you got here. Your Miami Dolphins hosting the New York Jets.
No, previous game, the Dolphins banked them, right? That was a big that Black Friday game up in New York, but that was not started by Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson somehow figured it out in the second half of the game last week and threw for 300 yards. Only the third time in his career that Zach Wilson's thrown for 300 yards. Yeah, believe that. 60-some games, I think it is. However, only so many times has he ever thrown for more than 200 yards. I think it's like 4 times he's thrown for 200 yards back-to-back, and he's never thrown for 300 yards back-to-back, so don't have any expectations that Zach Wilson's really going to do a whole heck of a lot. However, Miami is struggling right now, and I'm really worried about how many injuries they have on that offensive line. 8.5 is a huge spread, so give me the Jets and the points.
I wish I could say it better than you did, Bill. I'm taking the Jets for the very same reason. I think Tyreek Hill got banged up in last week's game. I think the offensive line is going to struggle in this game. Devin Achane hasn't practiced all week. He's developed a toe injury at this point, and so obviously being a running back, you need to have a toe. You need to have a toe, and they're gonna make a better decision on Friday whether or not they think he's going to be able to play. I think the Dolphins win this game, but I think it's a very low scoring and close game for the Dolphins. So give me the Jets. PJ Steven, what say you? Jets at Dolphins.
The Jets because of Big Daddy.
The Jets because of Big Daddy. Can you elaborate, or you can't because of the family show?
Big Daddy, when the kid's sitting at the bar and the girl's like,
"Oh yeah,"
like watching football, and she's like, "Who do you want to win?" And he's like, "The gosh dang Jets." So the Jets are gonna win.
That's hilarious
because that kid wants the Jets to win.
That's so funny. I love the reasoning behind it. This is amazing.
I didn't know there was another kind of reasoning. So
no, this is great. All right, let's go. Hold on, let's see what we got in the chat here. Oh, you cussed in front of a lady. Pedro coming in with a reference as well.
No, Daddy,
right.
no. Oh, sorry.
Another Sunday 1:00 kickoff. The other New York team, the New York Giants, done a lot of talking about them tonight on the show, taking on the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. The Saints a 6-point favorite. I'm going to start us off here. I got the Giants. I think not only do the Giants cover the spread, I think the Giants went outright. I think that this Tommy DeVito thing feels a lot like Linsanity with the New York Knicks a few years ago. And I think they just ride this train. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think they make it exciting for Giants fans going to the end of the season. So I'm taking the Giants to win this game outright. Bill, let's go to you. What say you?
I
Giants
concur.
and Saints.
I concur. I think Tommy DeVito continues the magic, man. 6 points, that's a big spread. And I think the Giants at least cover. I'm not sure about winning outright, but yeah, I think for sure they cover the 6. Saints haven't been very good, so let's see what happens. Give me the Giants.
All right, PJ Steven, what say you?
The Giants, and I'll say that because I did remember watching a game with the Giants, and it was the year where the Patriots went undefeated and they went to the Super Bowl and the Giants beat them. I was watching that game live, not at the stadium, but watching it live on TV. And I don't know why I was watching it. Maybe wrestling wasn't on that night. But no. But I remember watching it. I remember being with a group of people and just being excited because they were excited to beat the Patriots. And I remember that they went undefeated that year, and it was a big thing. And then the Giants whipped them in the Super Bowl. And I remember like Eli Manning was the quarterback at the time or whatever, and I guess Tom Brady was still with the Patriots at that time, and it was the big clash. But I was like, it's pretty cool. But also, I do love New Orleans because of their food. That was pretty good. That's good food. And that's where I met Aaron Carter before he passed away, randomly outside of the House of Blues, where my wife's friend was getting married, and I was just walking the town because I don't care about bridesmaid stuff. And Aaron Carter was outside of the House of Blues, and I just said, "Hey, man." And then, I don't like him.
I wouldn't recognize him.
I don't have to. I only knew him because he got off the bus that said Aaron Carter.
Makes sense. What's funny is that
I'm gonna go with Giants though.
If PJ obviously PJ's been to a couple of WrestleManias. I mean, we've been to a WrestleMania together. It'd be really funny if PJ's like, "Oh yeah, I've been to a Super Bowl too," and he's absolutely
what? I would have fun probably. I heard the stadiums have good hot dogs, so that'd be good.
I got another story about hot dogs and concessions.
Good hot dogs.
Yeah, it's good. Tim Costello in the chat. What did he say? He's also remembers that
Tim said the same thing. He said it was Linsanity. We got to come up with a name for it, like some DeVito magic or something.
Yeah, DeVito Dimes. I don't know. Then he remembers the 18-1 season for the Patriots.
Nito DeVito.
Pedro remembers the helmet catch as well in that game that PJ Steven watched live. All right, so another sweep for the New York teams and the Giants. Let's go. The Sunday 4:25 kickoff. We talked about it in the last segment. Cowboys playing the Bills. The Dallas Cowboys do I have this line right? The Bills are 2.5-point favorite? Or did I get that backwards?
I think it's the Cowboys are 2.5. I have no idea.
As I'm looking it up, because I'm pretty sure.
Teams. Which team do I hate less? I don't know.
No, the Bills. The line's actually moved. The line is now 2 points. It's moved since this morning when I put this up. The Bills are a 2-point favorite over the Dallas Cowboys, which is crazy to me. PJ, I'm going to let you start us off here. Dallas Cowboys at the Buffalo Bills. Who you got?
Probably the Bills. I want to stay consistent with my New York picks. Although, also, New York has 3 teams. It's not even that big. It's not that big of a place. Why do they have 3 teams?
Technically, the Jets and Giants play in Jersey. If we want to be,
don't go there. Don't go
Jersey.
Yeah, I don't.
That's the south of New York.
Although, I think Tim just broke something in his house right now. Tim's from New
Jersey. Hey, Jersey has really good liquor stores. I don't know what Jersey has.
We went with the bodega that we went to the week that we stayed at for WrestleMania.
Yeah, the bodega. You know what was right next to it?
It was awesome.
You know what was right next
to it? A liquor store.
Yeah. But no, Jersey's great. I'm just joshing. But I said the Buffalo Bills for real because I don't, and nothing good comes from Texas except maybe a band or two.
Buffalo's are basically Canadians anyway.
Yeah, Pedro says, "Let's go Bills."
It's like Toronto South.
Oh, you know what? But I'll say, Tim has left the chat, poor guy. I'll say Buffalo Bills because of Bruce Almighty. How about that? That was a Buffalo
Bills because of Bruce Almighty, and then Pedro says Jersey has shores. Bill, he got here. Cowboys at Bills.
Like I said, I really don't like either one of these teams. I think this is a pickup game. I really hope that the Cowboys win this game. Oh gosh, that hurts to even say. But I think the Bills. They're starting to figure it out, and which I hate. And Josh Allen's going to will them to a win. So give me the Bills.
For the sake of separation, because I need to make some games on you before the end of the season, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, I want the Cowboys to win. If the Cowboys win, I'll be extremely happy.
Yeah, listen, I think they're always due for a letdown. I mean, the Cowboys did lose to the Arizona Cardinals this season.
Having a season, man. Dak is having a season.
Yeah. I like the Cowboys, especially with a 2-point spread. Even if they lose by a single point, they cover the spread. So give me the Cowboys here on the road.
Spread like 6 times. It's
yeah, that's why it's so much fun.
Spread.
Yeah, like food. I hope.
Yeah,
no.
It's food. All right. That's what else happens.
What is that? What is that?
I don't know what Volleyball is saying. The band
Clutch is a great band, dude. Like I like Clutch a lot. I've only seen them live one time. Clutch is great. Actually, my friend he doesn't. I don't think he watches football either. But my friend Noel from Colombia, he loves Clutch, and he's been on that Clutch, that Headbangers Ball cruise ship thing, and Clutch has played that a few times. Clutch is great.
That's good stuff. All right, last game we're picking of the week, Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles, the team that lost to the Cowboys last week, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, they're on a 2-game losing streak. At least they've lost 2 or 3, something like that. Traveling out west to play the Seattle Seahawks on the road. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite. At least they were this morning. That line has now changed. The Eagles are a 3-point favorite, not a 3.5-point favorite. Line's moving on the day of the show. Bill, I'm gonna let you start us off here. You got Eagles at Seahawks.
I read a little bit ago that Geno Smith is feeling strong and good. Pete Carroll feels good about him this week, so I'd like to know what Kenneth Walker's feeling like. I feel like that's a little bit more important. Or Zach Charbonnet, they were both hurt last week, and they did not play well. But here's the thing: I don't feel like the Eagles can lose 3 in a row. They can't, and they shouldn't. They're too good to do that. And I feel like the Seahawks are a really tough team at home on Monday Night Football. Oh my gosh, what a pick 'em! If it's a pick 'em, pick the home team, Seahawks.
You're saying, well, it's not a pick 'em. It's I guess
to me it is. To me it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I think it's a 3, but a 3-point, on a road for a road team. I mean, I get the home team in 3 points. I'll take it.
PJ, do you know what a Seahawk is?
Nobody does because it's a fictitious animal.
I wanted him to answer you.
No,
jerk.
It's not. It's like when people say a liger is fictitious. Nah, bro.
Actually, that's not.
Seahawk.
Seahawk.
It's a hawk that soars over the sea, bro.
Exactly.
Like a seagull, except
all hawks that like all birds that fly over the sea.
It's like their hockey team.
Some are better at flying over the sea.
Their hockey team is the Kraken, also a fictitious.
Pick up a book, Frick. Pick up a book.
Pedro says, "Go Birds! Finally beat Pete Carroll. Andy Hunter, go Hawks. Eagles have not beaten the Hawks in 15 years. That's a fun stat, Andy.
He's up there in Seattle where they talk about things.
Hey,
like that.
Cole's here. Hey.
And then Cole Ginn. That's right, Pedro. Seahawks, go Birds.
I want to hold on real quick.
It's 2 sets of birds.
I want to tell a quick story about Cole Ginn. I know it's totally off topic. My biggest memory with you, Cole Ginn, man, was when we played our final show at the Tin Roof of Guardians Warlock, and I was right up front, and you started playing Fall Out Boy, and my wife, big Fall Out Boy fan, it's her favorite band besides maybe Silverstein, and I left the pit to go grab her, and he thought I left because I hated Fall Out Boy, so he screwed up the lyrics the next thing because he was like, oh, man, dude, he just ran away from the show, man. That sucked. But I was hilarious. Like, no, I was just kidding Lauren because I loved the song and it was a good moment. But I miss Cole Ginn a lot. I'm sorry to get off topic there.
No, you're good, man. Who you got? Eagles at Seahawks. Who you got?
I'm gonna pick Eagles because Philadelphia is amazing. Again, another story with my wife in wrestling. We saw the very first women's Royal Rumble in Philadelphia, and it was one of the coolest moments with me and her together. And Philadelphia was awesome. And also because we were in Philadelphia a week before the Super Bowl, and everybody was just chanting "F Tom Brady" and "F the Patriots" and all that. So it was really cool.
I agree.
It was cool to be in the city with that feeling. It wasn't. We didn't even care about the Super Bowl, but it was cool to be around the people who were staying there for a week just to see the Super Bowl, to see their team beat the Patriots. And I was like, dude, I'm with you. Do it, man. Beat the Patriots. I don't care. It was super fun. And yeah, definitely the Eagles over the Seahawks.
See, I the more time goes by, the more I can't stand Philadelphia Eagles because of their fans, because they're
Philly fans are terrible, but
obnoxious and gross. And I mean, I watched them pelt somebody with snowballs in a game this year. Like
Santa, they boo Santa,
and they boo Santa Claus. I'm going to take the Eagles in this game because, Bill, to your point, I just don't see them losing 3 straight. I know they're on the road, and I know Seattle is hard to play on the road. I just don't see Philadelphia losing yet another game as Bill pulls out the Seattle Seahawks hat.
Switched hats. That was like a pro move, man.
Yeah, Bill lived in Washington for what, 18 years?
This is all beat up, like terrible. 18 years. I had season tickets. I had season tickets to the Seahawks for 6.
That's pretty cool.
Well, there we go. That's the 2 games.
Right,
if I go undefeated this week, then I'll made up the 2 games.
If I go undefeated this week, I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket because I based all this off of emotion, not statistics.
Emotion. Yeah, that's how my wife would pick too. She'd be like, "I love bears."
That's what PJ said he was going to do mascots. Yeah.
I like Eagles better than
actually. I think she's better than that. I think she would know like the Bears stink and would pick against them and things like that.
Chicago's a nice place to be there. I like Chicago,
especially certain neighborhoods. A lot of fireworks.
So we got a couple comments before we let you go, PJ. Volley Poly reminds us that WrestleMania 40 is going to be in Philadelphia too.
If I was still on the East Coast, I'd be going. But
yeah, Tim Costello says he loves Philly. And also, if you have a jail in the stadium, that should say something. In fairness, I spent the third quarter of a South Carolina game in the jail because of something that happened next to me that I basically was a witness for a few years ago. So I think most stadiums have some sort of holding cell for the people that are unruly. PJ, before we say goodbye to you, anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to, any parting words that you want to get before you decide to leave tonight?
Shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'll do it anytime, man. Anytime, I get off work at a decent time and, I'm able to have the time. This was really fun. And, I hope your guys' picks go well. And thanks for everything, guys. And, we're going to try and go live again with a wrestling show coming up here soon. It's been pretty much my fault why the wrestling show has been pretty inconsistent because I've been just working 60, 70 hours a week. That's all I've been doing, though. I've had to put, band stuff on the back burner. Even I finally was able to pick up a little bit more Spider-Man 2 last night and get some time to myself. So, and plus I was on vacation last week at Disneyland. So that was really fun. But yeah, we're trying to get more consistent with the wrestling shows. I'm going to give you guys some better content, some good content. So thank you guys very much for letting me come on here. And I'm going to go eat tacos at a taco truck that's down in my neighborhood. So cheers. Love you guys. And goodbye from our old friend, the Mastodon. Big Van Vader.
It is Vader time is over. Vader. Thank you so much, PJ Steven. PJ Steven of the wrestling shows. Stuff. It was really fun having him on the show tonight.
Yeah, I like it.
We've got some fantasy football talk to get to, so we're going to take our final break. We come back. The season finale of Bullies Buys and Sells and Bill's Factor Crap. Stay tuned. We'll be right back right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.
Established in 2008. One Stop Repairs in North Charleston, South Carolina, is your one-stop shop for all of your electronic repair needs. Specializing in cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and game consoles, One Stop Repairs offers reputable and quality service with the quickest turnaround time and the most competitive prices in the Lowcountry. You can find them on Google with an exceptional 4.9-star rating or on Facebook by searching for One Stop Repairs. Call for a quote today at 843-343-6310. That's the number 1, One Stop Repairs.
If PJ Steven if he wasn't still backstage, he'd be singing the song with us. He loves that little gimmick. There's a comment in the chat, PJ. I don't know if you saw it. We've got a fan of, I know he's backstage, but we've got a fan of Ahmed Beefcake in the chat. PJ Steven and I understand where that's coming from, but
nobody does.
Nevertheless. No.
Nobody
Bill, I'll explain it later. Okay. Ahmed Beefcake was a comment in the chat. I'll explain it to you later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the season finale, not podcast pick'ems, of Bullies Buys and Sells when we talk fantasy football. Last week, if I pull up the numbers here, Banker Bill had another good week, 6-2, where I went 4-4, and that brings us on the season 57-55 for your guy Bully Rye, 62-49. There's no catching Bill.
I feel like that makes sense, Ryan, being that I have 2 buys this week in my fantasy leagues. I have the week off in fantasy. How cool is that? You guys play some playoffs. I'm going to wait for you to show up.
I want to say so many things. I want to say
know.
so many
I
things.
know. It's just, you can't, though. It's like you having to say that the Gamecocks are better than the Gators. They lost again to the Gators. And honestly, who knows how long we're going to hold that title. So, you just can't say anything.
I want PJ Steven back in here. That's what I want. Oh, of course he's bringing that back. All right. Let's get into bullies, buys, and sells. We've got some folks that are looking. The reason why it's the season finale is that there are some leagues that are already in your playoffs. And there are some people with leagues like mine who have one more week, where I was 7-3 and in second place in my league, and I've lost 4 straight and now sit in 5th place, needing the guy in 4th to lose and me to win this week in order to make the playoffs in my main league. So let's get into bullies, buys, and sells for week 15, the final week of the season, and we'll recap everything come next week. So let's get into the quarterback buys this week, shall we, Bill? Matt Stafford projected 21.3 points. I think for the first time ever, I actually sent Bill all of my notes on here. Matt, oh, you didn't read them? Well, that hurts my feelings. Well, I'll tell it to you now.
You're going to read them anyway. So why would I be like, oh, yeah, I read what you just said. That was fun.
Well, nevertheless, Matt Stafford has exceeded this projection, 21.3 points, in each of his last 3 games after having not done it the entire season. Now he gets a Washington Commanders team allowing the second most points to opposing quarterbacks, and the Rams are clawing and scratching at a shot to make the playoffs after narrowly losing to the Ravens in overtime last week. I love Stafford this week. Bill, what say you? Factor crap to buy in on Matt Stafford this week.
I think the reality is, I got to tell everybody that's watching the show and is going to be listening to the show on the podcast networks, Ryan writes all of what he just said out. He has a script for himself. And what he's trying to say is it's not his notes. He literally writes a script and he reads it. I was so impressed. I actually thought he did before that because of how eloquent words are hard.
Oh, look at you.
Words are hard, Ryan. Eloquently, he says things.
That's karma, my friend.
I know. Look at that. I had narrowly. Okay.
See, now you can't say
Matt Stafford. I can say it. Matt Stafford playing Washington this week. Washington, terrible defense. Terrible defense. They are not good against the pass, and he has been pretty good recently. A lot of weapons on that offense. Puka Nacua, I can't think of his name. Cooper Kupp, fantastic.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, and who is the third? The third wide receiver is not bad there either.
Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, Tutu. And they have another, I think, too. But
yeah, they got a few of them.
They even traded Van Jefferson this season, who did nothing until whatever. I think he went to Atlanta or something like that. He did nothing there. Anyway, point is, Washington, terrible defense. That's the fact.
All right, let's go over to running back here. Let's go to running back here. Austin Eckler. He should actually be playing right now. So I'm kind of curious to see how he's doing. He was projected 15.
I got you. Just read your script, Ryan.
I'll read the script. Pull up what he's done so far. Austin Eckler, the Chargers.
You're not going to believe the score right now.
Okay. Wait till I get this out. Right. The Chargers not only lost Justin Jefferson, but they won't have Keenan Allen in this game that is playing right now. I think that means they're going to rely on the run game, rely heavily on Austin Eckler. And they're playing the Raiders, who are giving up the 7th most points to opposing running backs. I see a potential monster game for Eckler. Let's see how bad I got it. Bill, you get the chance to factor crap it. What do you say about Austin Eckler this week?
The bad news is he's playing right now, and I know exactly what he's doing. So this. I mean, should I go that direction?
Yes, do it.
All right. Well, based on what's happening already in the game, we're gonna have to call this one crap, right?
Oh no!
Right now,
good.
First quarter, the game is 21-0, Las Vegas. So that baseball bat that the Chargers use as their backup, Easton Stick. He's not doing well, and they are getting pummeled right now by
Aiden O'Connell has 2 touchdown passes, one to Jacoby Myers and one to Trey Tucker.
Not going well. So I feel like we're looking at the Staley's last few days here as the Chargers head coach. I think this is not going to work out well for the head coach in LA or San Diego, where he should be. Let's not talk about that today. Anyway, I'm going to call crap on this one, Ryan. I don't think Eckler gets there because they're going to have to be passing the ball here in the second half.
I hope they just feed it to Eckler and he absolutely brings it back.
For what? There's just no reason.
You leave me alone. All right, let's go to wide receiver here. Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Love this guy.
15.1 points. He's also exceeded his current projection the past 3 weeks, where he scored 2 touchdowns over that span. Has emerged as the go-to target in the Chiefs' offense behind Travis Kelce. The Patriots are allowing the 12th most points to opposing wide receivers. And despite a couple of low-scoring outputs, New England has been able to produce in the last 2 weeks, meaning the Patriots gave up 6 points to the Chargers. And how many points? 10 points to the Steelers last week. The Chiefs are now riding a 2-game losing streak and are about to take it out on the Patriots. Roll with Rashee Rice this week like I have to, thanks to the injury to Keenan Allen. Bill, what say you? Buying this 15.1 projection for Rashee Rice, or is it crap?
Have you watched this guy's targets go up all season long? It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
What he's been able to do. They said I picked him up, I don't know, about week 4 when they said that I say the experts said that he was becoming the top wide receiver target there in Kansas City. They were right, and he is getting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 targets every single game, and he catches a ton of them. So Mahomes is now looking for him. So like Ryan said, they're playing a pretty bad team, and this guy is going to score points. He's been scoring a lot of points lately, so I would definitely call fact on this one, and I would ride with Rashee Rice. I would, Ryan, if I had to play this week because he is on one of my rosters.
Yep, I'm playing him.
I don't have to play this week.
I was going to put him on my flex until Keenan Allen was ruled out, and so now he's my wide receiver too.
Yeah,
with potentially Devin Achane or Jackson Smith and Jigba in my flex this week. Speaking of flex, speaking of next players that I'm buying in on this week, let's look at tight end David Njoku. Listen, Joe Trash Flacco. We've got Broadway
wow.
Joe.
Wow, middle name Trash.
You know, I'll make it better.
Middle name lots of money, Flacco.
You've got Broadway Joe in with the Jets. Now you've got Trash Joe in Cleveland.
Trash Joe.
But what? David Njoku has become the favorite target of Joe Flacco. He's beaten his current projection in, believe it or not, 6 of his last 7 games, including a 2-touchdown performance last week against the Jaguars. Now Cleveland gets the Bears, allowing the 5th most points to opposing tight ends. I don't expect Njoku to score like 2 touchdowns like he did last week. But he'll certainly exceed this 11.1 projection. So feel confident if you're going to roll with him this week. Bill, what say you factor crap for David Njoku?
David Njoku's beaten this projection, Ryan, every week since week 8, except for 1.
Yep.
He has been unbelievable. He's having a really sneaky good season, and a guy that we kind of thought was a bust. Where he really hadn't been what we expected coming out of Miami. But he's having a fantastic season, and he looked like Flacco's security blanket last week, throwing touchdowns to that guy all over the field. So I'm going to give you a fact on this one. I think he scores this again. Good old Njoku. I can't believe it.
All right. Volley Polly says he's
Jacko Flacco would be like Joe Jacko Flacco. Like that's way more fun to say.
I forgot that I play Volley Polly in the Tap House and Touchdowns League, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But he's
you can thank Tim. You can thank Tim Costello for that one because he beat someone in that league last week and got you into the playoffs.
I'll take it. Listen, I need every bit I can get. Tim also wants us to leave Joe alone. He's been through enough.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he's
so
already
many millions
dead.
of dollars.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Bully Sells because we're up against it here. Let's start off at quarterback in Justin Fields. Justin Fields, 20.7 projected. Let me find my notes here. Yep. Last week was what I expected out of Justin Fields. However, this week he's on the road against the Browns, allowing the 5th fewest points to quarterbacks. And the last running quarterback to play the Browns, Lamar Jackson, had a mere 15 points against them. I don't like Fields' chances this week. Bill, what say you? Factor crap. Under 20 points.
Crap. I like Fields. He's on fire. He's going to score. And Cleveland, that defense is going to be on the field a bit. I think Flacco is pretty bad. So I think it's going to be tough for them to stop him. He's running all over the place. So I think he scores.
All right. Let's go to running back here. A guy that I bought in on last week that sort of disappointed me. Very, very barely disappointed me. Chuba Hubbard projected 12.7 points. One of the guys I whiffed. And so that being said, the old adage, fool me once, shame on you, applies here. The Panthers can't find the end zone, and the Falcons are allowing the 3rd fewest points to running backs despite the best tandem week from both he and Miles Sanders last week. Sanders averaged over 7 yards a carry last week. The Panthers may not get past the 50 this week. Don't start Hubbard. Don't start Miles Sanders. Don't get cute. And for that matter, if you can get a hold of the Falcons defense in your league, play the Falcons defense. Yeah. The Panthers are giving up 4 sacks a game, and they're not finding the end zone on offense. So I'm selling Chuba Hubbard, Bill. I'm pretty sure you're going to say fact on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to give you fact on this one as well.
All right.
Defense is too good, and Carolina's too bad.
All right, let's move on. Wide receiver here. We talked about Bills and Cowboys a lot this week. Stephon Diggs projected 17.9 fantasy points. Might be one of my riskiest picks this week. The Bills won a huge game last week against the Chiefs. The bad news, Diggs only hauled in four receptions on 11 targets for 24 yards in the win. He's only exceeded this current projection once in his last 4 games, albeit only missing it once in the previous 9. But they get a stronger looking Cowboys team, allowing the 7th fewest points to wide receivers this season. You're probably starting him, but if you're in the playoffs, I'd be very concerned having to start Diggs this week. Bill, what say you? Factor crap under on the 17.9 points.
Ryan, 2 words. Stephon Gilmore.
Ooh, I like that.
That's bad news. That's bad news from a man, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Gilmore is playing out of his mind right now. He's old. He's old now.
You know where he went to school?
I think he played girls basketball for South Carolina.
Boom.
Boom. There it is. But yeah, I'm gonna give you fact on this one, Ryan. I don't think Stephon Diggs has a very good game. He had issues. Man, English is tough tonight, man. It's really hard to come by. I mean, I don't understand it. But
we're a day late.
I mean, we had problems last night too. You know, Murphy. Who cares? But I know. Look at that. See, that's the face I get. He didn't say anything for the people on the podcast, but yeah, the face I got. If you were live, you should watch that on YouTube. Anyway, I think
non-nutrient.
He had issues.
Non-nutrient cereal varnish.
Nutritive. Who cares? Nobody. It doesn't matter. But anyway, anyway, back to the topic.
Yeah, let's get back to football.
He had problems with L'Jarius Sneed last week in Kansas City. Like you said, he got targeted quite a few times, only caught 4 balls. I think the same thing happens again this week, and I give you a fact for this one. Stephon Diggs gets shut down. However, the Bills still win this game.
All right, let's go to tight end that I'm selling this week. Tight end Trey McBride projected 12.9.
Low-hanging fruit, Ryan. Low-hanging fruit.
Currently projected to finish 5th in tight end scoring, according to ESPN this week. However, the Cardinals get what might be the best defense in the NFL in the 49ers, allowing the 4th fewest points to tight ends. To top it off, McBride has only exceeded his current projection 4 times all season. The last time he played San Francisco, albeit without Kyler Murray, he had 1 catch for 5 yards. I don't like McBride or anyone from Arizona this week in fantasy. Bill, I'm low-hanging fruit. I'm sure you're facting me on this one.
I'm not even going to say it. San Francisco's defense, really? You're going to run anybody up against San Francisco's defense and expect them to perform, especially with that number, 12.9. It's a pretty good number for a tight end. I just don't think it happens.
Nope. All right, that's your final edition of Boys, Buys, and Sells.
There it is, Ryan. The whole season. And I think you almost have to I think you have to beat me on every prediction, and you still don't beat me. I think pretty much
I can't beat you on every prediction because you're agreeing with some of my predictions.
It was only 3. It was 3, I think 3 opposites.
Well, that's the thing though. There's no beating you because
it's because wait a minute. No. It's
if you agree, you get it right.
Over the course of the season, you could have taken a lead where I was like, oh, I was wrong. So basically, I say Ryan likes this guy. That's a bad idea, and I'm right more often than not, Ryan.
This is the end of Tap Outs and Touchdowns football shows, as you know it. This is it. We only had one question from the audience participation, and Volley Polly wanted us to talk about the fact that somebody in one of his leagues this week decided to drop Breece Hall for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Listen, if I don't know how else to have this discussion, you're not dropping anybody who's been a starting running back, starting receiver, whatever the case is, in week 15 of fantasy football, unless they are on IR.
You're trying to look like a genius there. Like, wow, he exploded all of a sudden. And Edwards-Helaire has not been good.
I mean, he got his first start last week because
Pacheco was injured.
Now, I think they've ruled Pacheco out again because his projection is skyrocketing on ESPN. However, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has never lived up to the hype in Kansas City. And the fact that Breece Hall has been electric this season at times, I don't know. Whoever dropped Breece Hall, why don't while you're
trying to be a prediction machine right there, and if you're wrong, you got egg on your face.
While you're at it, go ahead and drop whoever your quarterback is. I don't care if it's Dak Prescott or Justin Fields or insert quarterback name here. This Jalen Hurts. Go ahead and drop Jalen Hurts for who's the guy playing for the not. I can't even think about it because that game's already started. Go ahead and drop whoever your quarterback is for Joe Flacco. How's that?
I prefer Jake Browning
Go get Desmond Ridder. You know what? Better yet, go get Bailey Zappi. If you've got Jalen Hurts, you don't need to start him. Go drop Jalen Hurts right now for Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
I think that's a good decision that you need to go on.
You're a little over the top there, I think. A little too much.
A little too much. Okay, so that's where we draw the line.
Yeah, you don't want Jalen Hurts. I mean, Breece Hall isn't like the best quarterback in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is like top 3.
That's fair. All right. Folks, we are to our favorite segment of the show, at least my favorite segment of the show, and that's Homer's Corner. We have a collective Homer's Corner this week.
That's right. We're together.
Because we
High
have
five.
been waiting.
High five here. High five.
Oh,
Wait.
There we go. Boom. There we go. Boom. Volley Polly told us that we need to tell them to get off the internet. I like that idea.
Get off the internet, Ryan.
Get off the internet. Tap outs and touchdowns had a fantasy football league this season that consisted of 12 teams in 2 divisions, the Banker Bill division and the Bully Rye division. And the playoffs started this week. I guess I can name let's go ahead and do it. Let's name the participants in the Tap Outs and Touchdowns Fantasy League. Give everybody a shout out. Sean Seelig won the Bully Rye division at 10-4, followed by Volley Polly, finished number 2 in the division at 9-5. Zach Pierce, who was on the show with us earlier this year, making picks, finished at 8-6. I am at 7-7, and then Fousey B is at 7-7. Michael Davis of the Cat Cave rounded out the division at 6-8. In the Banker Bill division, Banker Bill won his division at 10-4, so one of 2 10-4 teams in this league. And then is it Daniel Pope?
Yep.
8-6. Marshall Walker 6-8. Tim Costello 5-9. Jonathan Leatherman at 4-10, and Baker Bill Sr., if you will.
Yeah.
Grandpa Bill Tomer 4-10. So it looks like you were sort of top heavy in your division, 10-4, 8-6, and then everybody else had losing records. We were fighting it out here in the Bully Rye division.
You're much more competitive over there.
We were much more competitive. So as Bill said, he's got a bye. Sean Seelig has a bye. Daniel Pope against Zach Pierce. The Bent Creek Bandits taking on Patrick's Homies is your 4-5 seed game. And then I squeaked into the playoffs, as Bill said, at 7-7. I'm taking on Volley Polly in the 6-3 matchup. Bill, thoughts on the inaugural season of the Tap Outs and Touchdowns Fantasy League?
It was fun. I feel really I feel like my guys in my division really didn't do all that well. I mean, Daniel Pope did okay. Won 4 in a row to get in the playoffs. Was 4-6 on the season. Ended up 8-6. So good job, Daniel. That kind of saved face for the Banker. I thought for a minute there we were only going to have me make the playoffs. That would have been embarrassing. But yeah, we'll coach him up
well for your division.
Yeah, we'll coach him up. I know, right? Well, the divisions. Let's be honest. The divisions kind of mean nothing. I think next year we should kind of change that, where the divisions make a difference. So
I think next year
from each division.
Well, no. So here's the problem. So I'm in another league with 12 teams, and they're four division teams. But you play the division like 4 times.
Yeah.
You never get to play anybody in the other division. So I think, if anything, we just eliminate divisions altogether next year.
No, I think we should have divisions. You can still have divisions. I mean, it's fun to watch to see where you're at. But the reality was that I play in another league that's a 12-team league, and it's not that we play within the division. You play all the teams, but the divisions based on, it's random. It's not like ours where we have, the guys you brought in and the guys I brought in type deal. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off the air. We can make some changes, but it was really fun. I had a blast. Being the 1 seed, that's right. I feel good about it, and I'm taking the money. It's going to happen. I really need. Here's the thing, Ryan. This is the one that shocks me. I had the number 1 pick, right? You remember what my number 1 pick was?
I don't.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jeff. Oh, and he hasn't. I mean, he got hurt again last week.
And I still. I mean, that's dominance right there. You get the best player in the draft. He doesn't play most of the season, and you still are the number 1 seed. Thank you, everyone. All right.
His roster.
Now I just got to win the thing.
His roster consists of Jalen Hurts, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans. He stole Sam Laporta from me in the draft.
Yes.
Michael Pittman Jr., New England's defense, but then he's got Dallas Goedert, Khalil Herbert, Russell Wilson, Rashee Rice, Zach Charbonnet, and Deontay Dearness Johnson.
Whatever.
Yeah. So you had
handcuff the running backs. Smart play there.
Yeah. Listen,
once the bye weeks ended, I dropped my backup running backs except for Khalil Herbert because he could be a starter. I dropped a flex player. I dropped my other running back backups, and I picked up the guys that if they were to get hurt, like Walker, then you put in Charbonnet. That's what I started to do. That's strategy right there.
So I don't have a bad team. Now, granted, I ended up starting.
Your team is actually pretty good.
Anthony Richardson to start the year, but I also picked up Brock Purdy.
We talked about it on this podcast.
So bad.
And in the draft, he puts himself in a position where he drafts Anthony Richardson.
Well, because your dad took Jared Goff right before I was going to.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I ended up getting Brock Purdy as an undrafted free agent, and he's been my quarterback all year, alongside Christian McCaffrey and Devin Achane, along with Jonathan Taylor when he has played. Jahmyr Gibbs, DJ Moore. I traded for Garrett Wilson midseason. I've kind of played musical chairs with tight end because I started with Hayden Hurst for obvious reasons.
Because he was going to have 1,000 yards and 90 catches this season.
Yep. And so when that didn't happen, I took Jake Ferguson and Dalton Kincaid, who had a good few weeks in there. Ended up making a trade for Jalen Waddle like a moron towards the end of the season, but my wide receivers have been really inconsistent in that league, so it's been
that Waddle might be a good pickup this week if Tyreek doesn't play.
Fingers crossed.
No, fingers crossed that he does play. Ryan, what are you doing?
Well, fingers crossed for me. I'm trying to win fantasy football.
I don't care about your fantasy football team.
I don't care about your Dolphins.
That hurts me, Ryan.
It should. It should hurt you. I don't care about your fantasy team. It should hurt you,
what
Bill.
Talking about? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No. Bill, anybody you want to shout out before we say goodnight for the evening?
No, I think we're good. I'm excited, man. All these people in here once again. That was fun. And we figure out what we're going to talk about next week. We have some fantasy football talk. It's going to be different.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because, I mean, we can talk fantasy football playoffs. We can talk strategy in the playoffs and what you want to try to do.
Play your best players. Conversation over.
Yeah, play your best players. That's right. No, to Bill's point, thanks for everybody that got involved. Aaron, I'm going to butcher this. Aaron Rubenstein liked the podcast on Facebook tonight. Michael Davis, your wife Shauna Tomer was in here for a minute. Tim Costello, Daryl Waits, Pedro Guillen, Cole Ginn. That's what PJ Steven called him. Aaron, Andy Hunter was in here. A lot of guys in the chat. Aaron and Austin Thompson. Again, Volley Polly. I think I already mentioned Tim Costello. Mama Frick was in here. Amy Lynn Wickman was part of the conversation for a small minute. So thanks to everybody who watched this week. We'll be back. We do have a wrestling show coming next week. So stay tuned for that. If you want to listen to more Carolina Panthers information, Carolina Panthers podcast, go over to the Cat Cave on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, and on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. But we'll be back talking more football on this very show next Wednesday, unless something weird happens and we have to move it back to a Thursday again. Thanks to everybody who was part of the show tonight. For Banker Bill, it's your guy, Bully Rye, and we'll see you next week right here on Tap Outs and Touchdown.